Who is us?
I'm sorry, how rude of me. We're the Thursday Murder Club.
Hey, I'm George Edelman from MovieWeb. Chris, it is such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, thank you, George. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Likewise, longtime fan of your work. So much to talk about, but I'd love to just get started. Obviously, with this project, you are here working with, on Thursday Murder Club, a number of legends. And I'm curious if there were any unique stories that stood out or pieces of the process with, you know, Ben, Helen, Pierce, all of them together.
I think that was mostly, you know, to me, it was, it connects back to Harry Potter in a weird way, because when I was working on those films, it was the first time that I was doing a film when all of our first choices for the actor to play the role said yes. So we had Richard Harris and Alan Rickman and Maggie Smith and Robbie Coltrane, and they all were my first choices. So cut to 20 some years later, and I read the Thursday Murder Club, and as a director make little notes in the margins. Elizabeth, that would be Helen Mirren. Ron, Pierce Brosnan. All four of my first choices said yes. So I was back in that situation, which also put me back into a very kind of intimidating situation, which is I walked into the room that first day for rehearsal, and I realized there's like 160 years of the history of British cinema in front of me. And I was intimidated, and I had to basically step up my game. You know, I had to feel like, you better be on your best directorial behavior. You better be well prepared and ready to hit the ground running every day you're directing these actors, because they're going to be on their best behavior, and they were.
Yeah, and they, you know, cinema, but also stage for some of them, just absolute legendary talents. When you read it and you were making those notes, you knew you were directing it, or were you not sure yet? Because you produce a lot, you've written a lot, you choose some things to direct. I'm curious what determines when you're like, I'm directing this one, or I want to direct this.
It's you know, I was never particularly interested in directing a murder mystery. Murder mysteries sometimes tend to be procedural and very cold, or they tend to be over the top, big performances, big cartoony affairs. And I read this and I was intrigued by not the mystery as much as the fact that these were four very interesting, complex characters. The sense of humor, the humor was biting and funny and sharp, and it had an emotional core, an emotional sort of punch, particularly at the end of the book and the film, that I wasn't expecting. And that's when I said, I want to direct this, because it had, if a project has a good sense of humor about it and a really strong emotional complexity, I'm immediately drawn to it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You combine humor to some extent in everything you do. Do you really seek that out, or do you bring it sometimes maybe and make sure it's there, even if it wasn't always on the page?
I think I learned that, I learned that from the movies of the 70s that I love so much. And I can look across all of those films that I love. I haven't directed a movie genre like those films. But if I look at something like Dog Day Afternoon or The Godfather or Serpico or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, all of those films have moments of hilarity and humor that sort of comes out of the characters. And I learned my lesson watching those films and realizing that even if you're doing something that's intensely dramatic, there's humor to be found. And I've really carried that with me all these years.
Yeah, absolutely you have. I'm curious, of all the projects you have in your backstory, but also that you're developing or pursuing, is there one you are aching to return to sooner rather than later?
You mean some return to something, or something I haven't made yet?
Well, a franchise that you've done already, that's kind of like, because, you know, there's so many things that you've done that people talk about. We want to get that sequel to that one, or we're looking at doing another one of this one. And I wonder if there's one that you are like, I just really want to go back to that world.
No, it's interesting because I had it drilled into my head early on that as an artist, you have to continue to grow, whether you grow, whether you make a mistake. And I've made some. I made a lot actually, and the mistakes you make, you learn from. But I realized that going back it's okay, you know, to go back, but I'm always looking for something new. But at the same time, if something like, for instance, Gremlins, working on a script for Gremlins, a new Gremlins reboot, that I feel if there's a reason to do it, let's do it. And you know, that's to me, if for lack of a better word, a franchise that I love, that I think is a lot of fun. And so that's intriguing to me.
It's funny. I just showed my kids that the other day. It holds up so well. They adored it. So
that's fantastic. How old are your kids?
How old? 6 and 10.
6 and 10 is good. That's a good age. Yeah. But so it's working within those, you know, but I always feel like, you know, getting up there in age a little bit. I want to make sure that I continue to try to do something new. So we'll see.
So what's the Chris Columbus movie that you're aching to do that's new? That's the like on the horizon that you're like, I got to get one of those in.
It's not one of those. It's a matter of the script. You know, it's a matter of, I have a couple of scripts that feel like something I haven't done before that I'm anxious to do. That, as always with those scripts, it's like when I was going to do Gremlins. When Gremlins, before Steven Spielberg got his hands on it, so many people passed on it and said, that's not a commercial idea. It's a terrible idea. And that's what I still look forward to that. When somebody tells me it's a bad idea, I immediately say, I think you're wrong. Somebody's going to, and thank God for Steven Spielberg, because Steven Spielberg thought Gremlins was a good idea. Steven Spielberg thought Goonies was a good idea, you know, and it's movies like that find the light of day because it just takes someone with a bit of vision to believe in them, you know.
So you're looking for the one that people doubt, and then you'll be like, oh, that's
it. That's the one.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of curious a little bit about, you mentioned Harry Potter, if you have any feeling about it as it continues to evolve in this new form. There's a lot of new people involved. There's a lot of conversation. From your perspective, having been at the dawn of it before, what does it look like to see something like that going on?
I'm like, I really wish them well. I hope it's fantastic. I mean, they get to do something we didn't get to do, which is basically do the entire book. You know, I had to cut a lot of my favorite things from the movies because we didn't have enough time. And even so, you know, those movies are long. You know, they're 2.5 hours. But now they've got 10 hours to basically bring the whole book to life, which is fantastic. So I think that's great. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I've done it. I'm like, yeah. I don't know what else to do with it. I'm anxious to see what you're going to do with it.
Speaking of cuts, sometimes it's the things that are cut that are that make greatness, right? It's the hard part, kill your darlings and that. Are there things in Thursday Murder Club that you left out that you were like, that were really tough calls?
There is a scene between Ibrahim and Ron that was one of, if not my favorite scene in the film, was one of the best scenes in the film, and I had to cut it. There was a scene, there's a whole subplot with Father Mackey, the priest, that is one of Celia Imrie's, maybe her best performance in the film, that I had to cut. But it survives I made it into a short. So when the Thursday Murder Club is released on Netflix, you will be able to go to, I think, the To Doom website, and you can see the Thursday Murder Club short, The Priest Who Wasn't a Priest. And it's an 11-minute short that holds up on its own. So
that's awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing that I have to finish. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I hope to do it again sometime.
Thank you so much.